Hey everybody, it's Karen Anderson here with Aortic Hope for our week in review. And as always, before we get started, I'm going to ask all of you that are watching live or on replay to please click like, click subscribe, and don't forget to leave us a comment so we can interact with you today or interact with you later. It just really helps in enabling others to find us. So what we do here for our week in review is we kind of go over the posts that we had up on our Facebook page and on our website and just kind of give the public a little bit of an opportunity to interact with us, banter, and share their thoughts. And we're hoping that you'll share yours as well. So with us today, we have Tammy Warner in her Mickey Mouse shirt. I think I have the same one. We have Chris with us, and we have Diane. Diane looks like she's maybe working through some stuff on her and on her computer. But at least we can hear her. We'll see how it goes. But we're happy to have you all. And so we're going to start off with our Monday, and as we always do. And so this Monday was movement for movement. And again, we talk about this. I still find it ironic that in 2020, before COVID started, Aortic Hope decided to start a movement for movement. And the whole concept behind this was just to have people start to feel less fearful about moving and just follow their doctor's orders and do something, because too often we can get into a rut where we're scared or we're feeling a little lazy or feeling a little debilitated or down and we don't move. And while we know that doing nothing is doing something after all, sometimes you just need a little bit of support to get moving. But what I wanted to talk about this week is, did you know that with vacation season soon coming around the corner, it could really mean a lot of longer car rides and some flights in people's futures? And in Good Housekeeping, Victoria Chandler writes in her article, Easy in-flight exercises for when you're traveling, that for many, flying is rather exciting, especially when you're on your way to sun yourself in an exotic destination. However, it also means that you could be sitting for long periods of time, meaning it's important to stay active on a plane, and this includes trains as well, even when you're desperate just to lie back and binge watch your films and your Netflix. Sitting down for long periods of time can actually make you more susceptible to deep vein thrombosis, or DVTs, as we sometimes hear them, which is really a lack of circulation or poor blood circulation, and that can actually cause clots to form. Humans are not designed to sit completely still for more than a few hours. Actually, I'd say we probably shouldn't sit completely still for more than the time period of a movie, and you could do ankle pumps anyway. But a spokesperson from Monarch Airlines has states also that drinking plenty of water to stay hydrated, you should wear loose-fitting clothing and walk around the cabin when it's safe to do so. They also recommend flyers do a few stretches and easy exercises at regular intervals. And in this article that we attached, it actually goes over the many ways that you can do some simple stretches and other types of exercises to avoid these DVTs or blood clots and just aid in helping the body feel relaxed and comfortable. And again, I think that this stuff you could apply if you're in a train or if you're in a car. So let's talk about this a little bit. Your modes of transportation. Do you guys fly often? Do you find that you're just taking more car rides? What are your experiences, Tammy?
I probably fly about the same, maybe once or twice a year. But the thing that I've added is I do wear the compression socks now, just to give me a little bit more comfort and ease of knowing that I'm doing something to help with the circulation.
Right, to circulate. Chris?
We pretty much just drive everywhere. I like driving. That's what I did for a living. So.
And so when you're driving and you're the driver, you're obviously moving your foot back and forth, which is helping with blood flow. So do you ever find that if it's a long drive that you're making more frequent stops now, post AD, to aid in any of that circulation?
Well, I have Crohn's disease, so stopping often is kind of just one of those things.
That's gonna help.
We usually stop pretty often, just because she's always got to get out and do something. She's got to go see something, and just like in car rides, her even though I drive, I would say a high percentage of the time, she she's constantly moving. Like the girl just does not stop. So, um, yeah, it's always Movement Monday for her. It's just,
That's pretty funny. Diane, what about for you?
I drive. Every day I make a point, to get up, jump in the shower, and um, first thing I do, and it's real. I just find it so good, whether I plan on going anywhere or not, to go outside, enjoy the sunshine, and walk, take a breath of fresh air to get my mind, my blood pump, and everything going. But I'm always, y'all know, I'm always going. Every time you call, I'm driving somewhere, doing something. Um, with the illnesses that we have, I find it, important for me to just keep moving and going. When I feel good enough to, when I could go or do something, I take advantage of it. And sometimes, I go too much, I overdo it. And the next day I'm at a crash and burn. Let's stop. But I find it real important that, whether you can move just a little or move a lot, just move.
Right. So if you are going to fly, some of the suggestions here are to get up and walk around the cabin when you can, when it's safe. And I know for me, I usually only have about a good solid 2-hour flight where I wouldn't do that. Anything that's going to be longer, I've got to get up. I need to walk from front to back. I feel like just sitting in this little silver capsule, it's just too cramped. And I usually take Southwest, so it's not like I'm paying for first class anyway or any extra leg room. But getting up and being able to stretch your legs, I think, kind of emulates a little bit more of some exercise. And they really don't care as long as you're not trying to do it when they're doing service. They don't care if you get up. But even stretching your upper body. And there is nothing wrong with just standing in your place on a plane or on a train. And even if you're driving in the car and just doing simple stretches, these are things that I guarantee you your doctor is not going to take issue with. It's just a stretch. And those are important to keeping the blood, circulating as well. This one's interesting. Squeeze your bum. Squeeze your bum. I bet you Diane's squeezing her bum right now as I say it.
You got it.
Just
Yes.
flex the butt cheeks, flex them in and flex them out. You'll be surprised any kind of movement, making fists in and out, ankle pumps, that's all promoting circulation throughout your body and will help in preventing the DVTs. Definitely roll your neck because that can get very stiff. We're all often just sitting here in this position, staring at our phone. So roll the neck, just as you would do any stretches when you first wake up, unless you're young and your body feels great. When you get older, you feel like you broke everything in bed. So just do the stretches. Do a full body roll down. Now, this is interesting how you would do this in your seat or on a plane. People would probably find you as their mid-flight entertainment, but just to kind of roll and just move all parts of your body. I think that one might be a little interesting if you're pulling your knees up to your chest. Maybe the person next to you might be asking questions. But the key critical part of when you're flying is to move your legs, whether it's ankle pumps, whether it's just, twisting your legs back and forth over each other. And again, I would suspect on a long drive in a car, it would be the same way. But they go through in this article not only the things that you can do, but how to best do them when you're actually on the plane. So I'd say check it out. I did find a couple of the pointers and the tips to be very interesting. I'm going to be implementing them when I fly soon, and we'll see how that works out. But I don't know about you guys. I need to move when I've been sitting for a while because you're sitting in the airport, and then you're stuck on the plane. So we're in the car, we're in a train. So you got to move a little bit. So any thoughts again for our Movement Monday?
Just move.
Just move. And that's kind of what it says. We just go over that it's really just the fear of moving that keeps us from doing something. And we can do this if we just keep motivating each other and we do it together. So that is your Movement Monday. We're going to go on to our Topic Tuesday. And on this Topic Tuesday, this was very interesting. So while aortic disease is much more common than you think, we're not really talking about aortic dissection. So the dissection part is not the disease. That's more of a reaction. That's an event that occurs because you have disease. So it's kind of like if you have a skin condition, itching is a byproduct of the skin outbreak of getting, let's say, poison ivy. It's the itching is the byproduct. Does that make sense? So dissection is the event of the cause, and the cause would be the aortic disease. And that's the part that's much more common than anybody thinks. But when we think about and we talk about aortic dissection, wouldn't you agree that usually most people have the following reaction to you? Either they've never heard of it, they're like, I don't even know what an aorta is, right? Or they say, isn't that something that's fatal? Or people will say, isn't that something I should be feeling like I'm being ripped apart? So I think that when we talk to survivors, it's usually, well, I didn't even know what that was, or I felt like I was being ripped apart, or they say that's something I didn't die from. I'm part of the 2%ers, which again, that's such a misconception statement right there. But we wanted to talk about number 3 in this article because so many people say that they feel like they're being ripped in half. And that led us to talking about the symptoms of an aortic dissection, which was found on the Society of Thoracic Surgeons. They actually have this phenomenal patient website and patient resources section of the entire Society of Thoracic Surgeon page. There's this little tab on the right that says for patients. And when you go there, again, you're talking thoracic, so that's lungs, that's esophagus. There's so much trachea. There's a lot that goes on in the upper chest, but there is a section for congenital heart defects and aortic dissection. And they say that most symptoms that are discussed would be severe pain, chest pain, symptoms of a stroke, shortness of breath, and there's a few others. And so what we were asking everybody to do was to kind of share with the community. This is the patient specific portal for adult heart disease. And you can see there are these other portals on their website. But if you go for the heart disease, you can go into aortic dissection. And it's so great because they've got videos and very easy to read information about the aorta and the different symptoms about an aortic dissection. So let's talk specifically about you guys and what you felt, because it's so interesting that we can all have the same thing and yet have felt it a little differently. So Chris, I'm going to ask you to go first on this one. If you want to go over some of your symptoms.
Felt like I swallowed like a gas bubble. It wasn't really that I couldn't breathe or anything. It just felt like I just had gas that just kind of went down and went down my sternum. And then I felt a little bit of pain back on the back side of my right shoulder. It wasn't debilitating enough for me to call an ambulance or anything. Like I told you guys before, I continued working for another 4.5 hours, and then came home and waited another 6 before I drove myself to the hospital. So I mean, it wasn't the most debilitating pain for me. But looking back at it, I clearly knew that something was wrong. Otherwise, I never would have drove myself to the hospital in the first place. But yeah, I knew something was wrong, and clearly should have made better choices.
But you primarily felt as though you had swallowed a gas bubble, like there was just something in your airway, not obstructing it, but you felt that fullness in your chest.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like honestly like I could go to a gas station, grab a gigantic Coke, and burp that thing out, and that's not at all what happened. And in fact, my wife is an RN, and that's literally what she told me to do.
Yeah.
Because I mean, she, even her, she said at the time, I was 36 years old. Said at 36, who would have ever thought something like this would have happened to somebody who, had never had any type of medical condition ever happen before, other than the Crohn's that we've talked about. But yeah, I mean, she was even dumbfounded, and like I said, I strokes and coma and all that stuff later. So,
well, it's interesting because as we have discussed, we both have Crohn's disease, and so for me, when my episode hit, out of the blue, just felt a pop in my neck, and it kind of radiated up to my ear, and the sensation I felt in my throat was, you ever swallow a capsule, a medication capsule, and I had taken, I think it was Entocort, which is a common medication used in the Crohn's world. And
Mhm.
I thought to myself, maybe the capsule is just dissolving and I'm feeling this little burning from the medication. And then I did belch. I did feel this fullness like I had to belch. And I thought, must be that chicken teriyaki lunch I had. I shouldn't have had it. That's what I was thinking. So I laid back down, but I felt the same bubble again in my chest and I sat back up. And it wasn't until I went to the bathroom that I briefly couldn't feel my arms or legs, as if I had been given a nerve block. They were shot. I was
Wow.
just a stump in the bathroom, and the sensation came back. But it turns out I had dissected from the root to the renal arteries. And I, thank goodness, never felt that pain. And then I continued during surgery further down into the iliac, but nothing. I mean, it just felt like I had run in gym class and had the burning when you run, or, like my food was messing with me. And I told the 911 operator that I had Crohn's disease and that the gas from my lunch left my intestine. There must have been a hole and it was pressing on my spine. And she said, "Yeah, that makes complete sense. Eat some baby aspirin. We'll be right there." So that's just what I thought. I was stunned when they told me to the contrary, because I always anticipated you feel like someone's pulling your body in half. And I did not have any of that at all. So, Diane, you want to go over what your symptoms were?
Exactly what you were saying, except I felt like I was stabbed in the back. I mean, that was I was actually outside working on the flower bed, and I started with the I don't know, pain between my shoulder blades, and I felt like my left arm was a giant toothache. And well, I have done became with the shortness of breath, as Chris was saying, some of the symptoms that he was having. Finally, when I had came inside, it was then where I felt someone had stabbed me in the back and went from the bottom up. I mean, I thought Jason for Friday 13th had stubbed something in my back and just stabbed me. And I was on my toes because it's the most worst pain I ever felt. And that's when I knew something was bad, bad, wrong.
So you had it primarily in your back.
Yes.
And I had it initially in my neck. Chris and I both had it where we felt intense gas bubbles trapped somewhere in our esophagus. Tammy, your symptoms.
I was eating breakfast, and I was eating some blackberries, the big blackberries. And I thought I had a blackberry stuck in my throat because my first sensation was a huge, about as big as my fist, pain right around my collarbone. So I stood up and thinking I was going to make it go away, and was trying to drink. And then all of a sudden I realized that I had no feeling in the back of my legs. And so I leaned against our island in our kitchen. And it was, usually I would have been home by myself. It was just a fluke that my daughter, who's a paramedic, was there. So I yelled for her to come into the room. And she immediately went through the list of things for a heart attack. And I was saying no to everything. But then when she realized that I lost the feeling in the back of my legs, she called 911. But
Interesting.
I didn't have any, and the pain went away before I got to the hospital. And I walked out of the emergency room. I was misdiagnosed, but the sensation that I had later on, let me plug myself in.
That's okay.
The sensation that I had later on the next couple of days was a lot of breathlessness. Like I was doing like that kind of breathing, and I had back pain.
That's so interesting because I know another member of the community that felt no pain, just felt off, felt a little dizzy, felt a little like she was going to pass out, and just felt off enough that that sixth sense said, you need to go get checked out. Something wasn't right. And they luckily caught the fact that she was having a dissection, but she had no pain. So I think, I mean, I just think it's very interesting, but they do talk about the paraplegia, nausea, shortness of breath, symptoms of a stroke, chest pain. These are all typical. But I think part of the problem and where Think Aorta as an organization is feeling challenged is everybody can present a little differently. And I think what works against us is gender and age. And I think the younger you are, the less anybody would suspect that there could potentially be something, potentially catastrophic wrong with you. And this is where, if you know anything about your family medical history, if anybody had passed suddenly or had aneurysms or high blood pressure or diabetes or stroke, it's important that you share this information because they may see the bigger picture. At least that's what we're hoping. But again, if you get a chance to go to the Society of Thoracic Surgeons website, it's on the right-hand side, says patient information. All of this is here for you to take a look at. I mean, there's even stuff about aortic valve disease. It's great information, great resources, easy to understand. So we hope you check it out and learn a little bit more about the symptoms. And this is not meant to scare you if you have an aneurysm, because the likelihood of you just spontaneously dissecting is a lot smaller unless you have a known connective tissue disorder like Marfan, because you're already on somebody's radar. But anytime you ever feel anything, regardless of these symptoms, that you know is different and you can't make that sensation go away in about 15 minutes, there is nothing wrong with going into the ER and getting things checked out. But I do love hearing all of your stories. I think it is just so interesting that we can have something and yet it be so different, right? It's kind of scary. Wish it was across the board the same, right? Let's move on to something that's a little bit more pleasant. Here we go. Volunteer Recognition Day. I bet you guys didn't realize we just came out of National Volunteer Week. And so we kind of just wanted to thank everybody and honor all of the many volunteers who dedicate their time to helping causes and organizations and others in the community. No matter how much time someone gives, it always makes a difference. Volunteers, in a way, truly do help to save lives, and they also help to improve lives and provide comfort. They do this in many ways, including assisting people, animals, and just nature. So most volunteers do not ask for recognition. They just want to help and to give back. So thank you again to all of Aortic Hope's board members who are volunteers, the directors who help make our forums and support groups possible, volunteers, our Hope ambassadors, volunteers who help spread information about aortic hope and aortic disease, physicians, therapists, business owners, and more who give of themselves to help educate the community. We also wanted to take time to thank everyone who volunteers their time moderating the many Facebook pages that exist that are dedicated to the aortic community. And finally, thank you to the incredible volunteers who help to operate other nonprofit organizations by working tirelessly to provide additional support and awareness within the community. Most, if not all, of the volunteers mentioned, it's important that you know that they dedicate their time while also being a caregiver or a survivor. And I think a lot of times people don't realize that. Diane and I discuss this often, how many times we work, and I say we meaning everyone here in Aortic Hope, and Diane does with her page and her group, while we're sitting in PJs, while we're actively a patient, while we're waiting for our scan, while we just came back from the ER. So we do this because helping others innately helps ourselves. And thank you to all of you that are on here today, helping us get this information out to the community. So thank you. I want to say thanks. Thanks a bunch. Thanks a latte. All right, we are moving on to Therapeutic Thursday. This was another good one. Stress and anxiety, very common words that are used within the community and often interchanged, but they are very different. And we're going to talk about them. And I think people use stress. I have so much stress. I have so much anxiety. They use them and they interchange them in a sentence, but they're very different. And we're going to have a conversation about that. And Diane's going to kick it off in just a second. As discussed in the American Psychological Association's article titled, "What's the Difference Between Stress and Anxiety?" written by Dr. Mary Alvord and Dr. Raquel Halfond. And I'm going to quote, "There's a fine line between stress and anxiety. Both are emotional responses, but stress is typically caused by an external trigger. The trigger can be short term, such as a work deadline, a fight with a loved one, or it can be long term, such as being unable to go back to work, discrimination, chronic illness. Ding, ding, ding. Are we putting this together here and thinking about it for ourselves? People
Mhm.
under stress experience mental and physical symptoms such as irritability, anger, fatigue, muscle pain, digestive troubles, and difficulty sleeping. Anxiety, on the other hand, completely different. It's defined by persistent, excessive worries that don't even go away in the absence of a stressor. So, anxiety leads to a nearly identical set of symptoms as stress. So, it can lead to insomnia, difficulty concentrating, fatigue, muscle tension, and irritability. And anxiety can be mistaken sometimes for PTSD. And pump head can actually be caused by anxiety or PTSD. So never self-diagnose. If you believe you're experiencing anxiety or PTSD, you really should discuss it with your physicians and seek appropriate treatment. And we have the article that was here on website and on Facebook to talk about it, but in greater detail. But let's get into this. Let's get into stress and anxiety, Diane. How do you perceive the difference in your life? Oh, girl, how much time do you have? Is that what you're going to
We
say?
don't have enough time for this. But stress and anxiety, good God, and pump head. I am a pump head, and I'm one, I mean, regardless, with or without stress, because I've had 2 surgeries. I've experienced where I cannot have the TV going and the radio going and someone talking to me. I'm like, okay, you be quiet. Let me do this first. I mean, I cannot concentrate. And it's so overwhelming. I can't stand loud noises. And stress does amplify it. And the short temper is perfectly normal. It's not being that you're a hothead or whatever. I found that it has a lot to do with all that you have been through, and it's quite natural. But it's something that it took me a while to find out what is wrong with me, because I literally sit there and break down crying, because I didn't feel right. Why am I so overwhelmed at the stupidest thing? I could spill something or drop it. Yesterday I was making mashed potatoes. I was so tired. Put a can of pork and beans in the mashed potatoes and messed it up. And my son Chris told me, Mom, you need to sit down, just go lay down for a minute. Because I was trying to hurry up and get dinner done before my husband get home. So I mean, overall, I think I'm doing a pretty good job and pace myself. I need time for myself, slow down, and that's just something that you have to do.
Mm-hmm. Chris, come forward just a little bit so I can get you in the camera and tell us a little bit about how you perceive any differences, if they feel different to you, about stress versus anxiety.
Stress and anxiety.
Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
The only thing I could think of is while you were talking about pork and beans and mashed potatoes is my wife would have told me, eat it and be grateful for it.
Thanks, Chris. Oh.
Yeah, I noticed after everything that the short temper is my biggest thing, and every time as I know that I'm doing it, I immediately apologize for it because there's no reason for me to be that way. But I do know that it happens. I've talked to 3 or 4 different people at the hospitals, couple spouses, that say, did you get a temper after this happened? Yeah, it's unfortunately it's one of those things that
right
does, yeah. I was talking to a wife one day, and she said, well, he's got this awful temper now, and this, that, and the other. I think the guy had like a quadruple bypass or something, and And I said, well, I said, you got to realize, I said, he went through something that you haven't. And at the end of the day, you don't understand it. And he doesn't understand it. He doesn't know what's going on. I said, he knows that he's snapping at you. I said, don't think that he doesn't know that. He does, you know. And, I said, unfortunately, he might be too proud to say it, but, when I notice that I'm doing it, that's first thing I do is I do apologize, because I know that there's no reason for me to be that way. And I don't know why that I am. It's really the only stress or anxiety that I have these days. I already know that I can't go back to work, so there's really no point in ever stressing about that again, And yeah, I don't really have stress or anxiety anymore.
Tammy?
Can I say
Oh,
something?
sorry. Sure, Diane, go ahead.
Because otherwise I will forget, Chris. I mean, you keep on apologizing and saying, you apologize. And yeah, I apologize, for when I have my flare ups and stuff. But, please do understand, to everybody, you're saying that there's no reason for me being this way. Yeah, sweetie, there is. We've been through hell and back, the anesthesia, and you can read up on brain fog and what it actually does to you. Is not in our mind that we're doing it purposely to ourselves. It's a health issue, sweetie. So being that you're sick, we did not ask for aortic dissection or for the illness or what we have gone through. So I mean, I apologize, for what I do, but says, I can't help. I didn't ask for the hands that were dealt to me, but I'll try to do better and understand and manage it better. But it's not totally your fault, sweetie.
And I think I kind of went in the opposite direction. Instead of lashing out or getting like mad at the situation, I went in the opposite direction, and I've just let things go. Like things that I would ruminate over and think about and stress and anxiety. I don't allow myself to do that anymore, because it could get so out of hand for me, and it served no purpose. And I allowed myself to do that. And I guess I'm lucky enough that I was able to monitor myself when I realized it was happening. And instead of getting angry, somehow I found a way to let it go. But I will say I learned to speak up for myself, where before I wouldn't have, to like close family members or close friends. And I guess one example would be like if my husband says something to me, trying to be nice, but just trying to calm my fear and just giving me a pat answer, like, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. Like if we're going to go to a CAT scan, and I know they're not going to be able to find the vein, and then we're going to have to wait forever to get the results. And what are the results going to be? And when it says something like, you're going to be fine, I will say, you're not allowed to say that to me anymore. Like, I don't want those fake, you're going to be okay statements. And he's gotten real, he catches himself sometime. He'll say something like that to me, and then he'll look at me and he'll say, that didn't help, did it? And I'll be like, no, it didn't. We didn't have those conversations before. He would say something, I would ruminate over it, be upset about it, like slam the dishes, or something. So I kind of learned new skills of how to cope, I think. And that doesn't mean I don't get mad. I just haven't found that it was useful to me. So I don't know, but I've never been like a real confrontational person. I didn't speak my mind a lot in the beginning anyway, because I was in a kind of career. My position was as a teacher. I could never be confrontational with parents. I couldn't be confrontational with my district, and I definitely couldn't be confrontational with the children. So it just became part of me.
Yep. I think for me, I'm sitting here trying to decide, I think that I have anxiety over things. I don't have stress over things. So that's where I look at the difference. I can feel that things can be stressful. So things have their own adjective of being stressful, and my reaction might be more of one that is anxious. And in the very beginning, I went to see a cognitive neurologist, so a specialist in the area of pump head. And he said, yes, pump head's real, but it doesn't last years and years and years and years and years and years without there being a definitive marking on your MRI. So without the ability to see the microbursts on a brain, the likelihood of you having a reaction to any microscopic oxygen that's in tubing is probably slim to none. Or the likelihood that you are years later still having a reaction to the initial bursts of a dissection, it actually more than likely could be unresolved PTSD or general anxiety. Because what's happening is your brain is still needing to heal from the experience that you went through. So whatever external sources are happening, too much cleaning that needs to be done, I got to now cook, I've got too many people talking, and then I can't remember that I turned the oven on, that's not pump head. That's your brain reacting to way too much stimuli. And they are finding that they're seeing that actually is the cause after having these open heart surgeries, is that if you don't learn how to address the underlying issue that's going on with the brain, that's why it might not fix. So it was suggested to me early on to have EMDR therapy for PTSD. And when I did the EMDR therapy, and I learned grounding techniques when I'm too anxious or I have too much stimuli, like you were talking about, Diane, when I know how to take a minute. And for me, I tend to stroke over an eyebrow. This is my go-to move. If I do that, and sometimes some alternating nasal breathing, and I can calm myself down, the short-term memory issues, they resolve themselves relatively quickly. If I adapt to a new routine, like if I'm finding that there's a lot of stressors in my life and I'm not remembering if I shut the garage door. Well, now what I do is I shut the garage door and I touch it when it's closed. So now I have a sensation. So when I'm driving, if I think for a second, did I close it? I remember the sensation, which is a sense. I remember the touch, and I don't have to turn around anymore and drive past my house 16 times because I'm not sure if did I really see that it was closed? Let me turn around and drive again. Maybe my eyes deceive me. No, I touch it now, and then the worry's gone. So it's manipulating your senses to find a way to curb the anxiety that I'm feeling over the stress. Did I shut the garage door? And again, a lot of this comes from having been through an emergent situation that you haven't properly dealt with necessarily through therapy. And it's not to say that pump head doesn't exist, because he acknowledges it does. But since there is no way to fix pump head, you have to fix the issues that could be causing that as a result. So you want to fix the stress and the anxiety, figure out how to ground yourself, learn those techniques, and then see what you're left with. Because I test cognitively extremely well. I go in there saying, I don't remember where I just parked my car, and yet my test scores are through the roof. And that right there proved to me, okay, I don't have a deficit. I think I have a deficit. So then what does that mean if I think I have a deficit, but it's not, I'm showing numbers through the roof? It means that my brain can only take so much stress and anxiety before it is momentarily shutting down, and then I become exasperated and it gets worse. So it's food for thought. But what I'm hearing similarities here are change of personality, change of moods, change of irritability and patience, changes in external stimuli, too much. It's like too much for the brain to take. So I think that all of that stuff is probably something that everybody could look at and try to resolve, and maybe the short-term memory could get better.
But I think it's like groups like Aortic Hope. If I had not found Aortic Hope, or another group, I wouldn't understand what was happening to me. But when people started giving me a name, telling me, okay, when you start forgetting your laptop at home, and that you take every time, or when you make silly mistakes, when you're not sleeping and you've been sleeping fine, those are all cues. Instead of just saying, oh, life is awful, look at what's happening to me. When you step back and you look at the cause and effect, what's happening, what can you do about it, what does it mean, instead of just wallowing in it.
Exactly. Exactly. All good discussions about our Therapeutic Thursday. It's a great article. It's great information. I revisited it a second and a third time, which led us into Feel Good Friday. And it was just Earth Day. Don't know if you guys realize that. And this year's theme was Invest in Our Planet. I love that every year they have a different theme. And as stated on the actual Earth Day website, in the decades leading up to the first Earth Day, Americans were consuming vast amounts of leaded gas through massive, inefficient automobiles. Industry belched out smoke, I love the way they describe this, and sludge with little fear of the consequences from either the law or bad press. Air pollution was commonly accepted as the smell of prosperity. Until this point, mainstream America remained largely oblivious to environmental concerns and how a polluted environment threatened humans and our health. However, the stage was set for change with the publication of Rachel Carson's New York Times bestseller, Silent Spring, in 1962. The book represented a watershed moment, selling more than 500,000 copies in 24 countries as it raised public awareness and concern for living organisms, the environment, and the inextricable. See, I knew I was going to get hung up on one word. It happens every single week. Inextricable links between pollution and public health. Earth Day 1970 would come to provide a voice to this emerging environmental consciousness and putting environmental concerns on the front page. And if you wanted more information, you could have clicked there, and we kind of just asked the community if there was anything special that you had going on in your area or what you were planning to do to invest in the planet. I will go first, and I will say my stepdaughter, who is a scientist, did hook us up many years ago with our first recyclable trash can. So we are very good about it. My husband's better than me. He will wash out spaghetti jars, cleans them all out, puts them in the recyclable bin, all of the plastic, glass, paper products, they all go in there. And now we are definitely reusing water bottles, buying more environmentally friendly bottles. So we're trying. We're definitely trying to use more paper straws, even though I hate them. But then I picture sea turtles with straws in their noses. So I try not to use plastic. All right. What do you guys? Any tips? Anything that you're doing, Diane?
I just put my plants that were inside outside.
Well, there you go. Giving some oxygen to the planet. Way to go. Chris, anything? Any thoughts?
We really should go to getting our own grocery store bags, but we still do plastic, at the grocery store. But we've gotten a lot better. We usually take a big pile of them, and then we just recycle them at the Kroger or whatever. We should do better by using our own, but we don't.
Tammy?
We just had to figure out how to get rid of a bunch of paint, and I had no clue where to take it. So my husband researched it. He had some oil in the garage and stuff. And there's a place in our county that you can recycle all of that stuff. And I found out that they even take things that, I want to say linens, but like your bed sheets and things. Because apparently I always used to drop them off at the Humane Society, but the Humane Society is being very picky what they'll take right now.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're not taking it, but I went there. You could recycle your fabrics, I guess is what I'm saying. It was fat.
Interesting. You know what? If I needed to recycle paint, I'd say, husband, where do I take the paint? I wouldn't have even known either. I probably would have mistakenly put it in the trash can, not knowing that you probably can't put it in the trash.
I kind of knew you weren't supposed to. I don't know how to do that. I do feel bad when I throw batteries away, because I think you're not supposed to just throw a battery away, but yeah. I do.
Right. I think you're right. I think I agree with you. All right. Invest in our planet. Look, if we invest in ourselves and our health, we probably should. It's the only home we have, right? We should probably take care of it a little bit more, or better, I think. All right. So I don't know how I ended up on this was not what I meant to click on. I wanted to share with you that Saturday we talked about our Survivor series. It was our general post, and really just asking people in the community that if you have not already shared your story, whether as a survivor or as a caregiver, or even as someone who has lost a loved one to aortic disease, please do. Please share your story. You have no clue how your story will impact others. It is validating for other people to hear similarities, and it's also an opportunity to create questions in someone else's mind that they can then bring to their doctors. So you can share your story and go bold and go live and tell it right here on our YouTube channel. You can do a pre-recorded message, or you can do it in written form. And for those of you who have already participated, we want to know where you are now. And that's our Where Are They Now series. So there are links for this on our website, on our Facebook page. Click sign up. We'd love to get back with you because we really want to hear about your story. I find all the Survivor Series stories to be very impactful. And you can do it any way you want. We had one woman, she changed clothes 5 times in her video. Every time I looked, it would cut. She'd have another outfit on and be in a completely different mood. It was wild. We have another community member who is a professional voiceover actress, and she was in a professional sound booth, and just her voice was like phenomenal when she would speak. And I was mesmerized by her voice, by her story. So, you know, it comes in all different shapes and forms. And at the end of the day, it's just important for you to tell it. You're going to feel great about it, and it's really going to help others when they hear it. So that was our Saturday post, which led us to the Sunday post, which I'm all about. This is all about Lawrence Hope Medical ID bracelet. And we still have a wonderful collaboration and relationship with them. We actually will be having I believe her title is Executive Marketing Director, Tara Cohen, will be coming on with us again soon. We're in the process right now of securing a date. And I can't wait to see the new products that she has, because usually we're able to do a little sneaky peek giveaway in there. But it is important to consider wearing a medical bracelet, whether you have an aneurysm, a dissection, a known connective tissue disorder, or all of the above. It will actually help a first responder treat you accordingly if your emergency is related to your aorta, or if you're unable to verbalize what your condition is and what you're going through. And they always have discounts. There's always at least a 20% discount that's going on over there at Lawrence Hope. And you can also click the link and go through our special share a sale link that we have, because Lawrence Hope is so generous that they're donating a portion of their sales back to us, and in which we turn around and use 100% of that for our initiatives within the community. But anybody here have one of these fantastic medical bracelets from Lawrence Hope? You do? Do you have it on you?
No,
Right
I
now? I know. I just took mine off which you can wear them in the shower, but I was in the hot tub and took it off. And I have one very similar to this picture that you see here, to this one. And what I love about that is I bought the plate separate. One day I just bought the plate, and then I did buy a couple bracelets for them. But when I was out on vacation, there are other companies that have these double lobster claws. So now I just buy all different kinds of bracelets to go with the plate, and then it completely changes the look for me. But Chris, do you have one at all, a medical ID?
I do now because of this post yesterday.
And there you go.
Yeah, you sent me on a shopping spree. I bought the bracelet, and then I went to the Hope shops, and I think I bought 6 new T-shirts. So it was.
You mean something like this, something like these that we have here?
Yeah, I have a gray one, and I wore it yesterday to a baseball game that we were at, and had, I don't know, I think 4 people stopped me, and one person, they had lost a loved one due to it, and then 3 other people were asking me what it was. And yeah, before I ever went on there and bought it, I seen the post, and I looked at my wife and I said, "Boy, it's a good day to spread some awareness." And
good shopping day.
after that, I bought stuff, and I got a scolding for it, and so thank you for that.
Except what's great is somebody asked you, they stopped you, and that's the whole purpose of wearing some swag. If you can get somebody to say, "Hey, what is that? What's that logo?" And that allows you an opportunity to talk with them about aortic disease and about how common it is in the community. And they may leave and think, "Oh, shoot, you know what? Grandpa just, passed suddenly. We just chalked it up to a heart attack. And then my aunt had something, and then this cousin, maybe I should go get it looked at. Maybe I didn't think about that before." And You know, that's the whole idea. Or if they are somebody that has experienced aortic disease and they see your swag, and now they're going to find out about a place where they can go and start receiving some support. So,
Exactly.
Diane, you have any medical bracelets or jewelry?
I do. I have one from Aortic, from Lawrence Hope. I have it, but and I wear it whenever I go out. Gonna be gone for a long time. As a long trip, not just run to the store or something. But I don't wear mine every day or nothing like that.
Yeah,
It's
it's
I
got to
use
match my outfit.
yeah.
Which is terrible because there's such good information. I mean, literally on the back of the majority of their tags, you can fit, you know, relatively speaking, your condition, your ICE, which is your in case of emergency contact,
Mhm.
your allergies, important medication. Look, it's not that key critical to state you're on a beta blocker. It's more important to state if you're on a blood thinner. That is really very important. You know, that before saying I'm on labetalol. If you say you have an aneurysm or a high blood pressure, they're only going to assume that you're on labetalol, and that really holds little to no allergic reactions in mixing drugs. But you state you're on Plavix, warfarin, Coumadin. That is extremely important for anybody to know, as well as if you have IV contrast and you're going to the ER and you know they're going to stick you in a CT scan, they need to know they have to do it dry if they want a 5-minute result. So check out Lawrence Hope. I mean, it's not just ones that look like jewelry. They have dog tags. They have gender, you know, specific, more rugged, more waterproof. Ones for children. They've got them all, and their variety is just huge. And I can't wait to have Tara on and talk with us again. That was a great conversation, and she'll be here to answer anybody's questions in the future, and maybe even do a giveaway. So we'll see. So check out Lawrence Hope Medical ID bracelets. That kind of takes us to the end of our weekend review, everybody. How was everybody's holiday last weekend, right? It was last weekend. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Last
Easter. Right.
Yep.
Good.
Busy.
Nice holidays.
busy,
Yeah.
busy, loud, lots of people, family.
All right. So I do Passover, and it's way too much matzah. Matzah is a massive binder, major binding agent. So yeah, I'm still waiting for the pounds to come off from all of that matzah. But it was good to be with family. It's prom season. My niece has been attending many proms. Her dance card is very full, and that's always a lot of fun to check out all the kids in the restaurants and their suits and their cute dresses of the season. So, yeah. All right, guys, we've got a busy May coming up actually this week on Wednesday if you're checking us out live, because now I can't remember what is today, the 19th? Is that what today is? No, it's the 25th. So on Wednesday, I'm totally a week behind. Because we were doing the week before. Wednesday, 27th, we have our support group meeting. If you have not registered, you only need to do so once. It is listed under our events section on our website. That is coming up this week. And we've got another support group coming up next week. We've got an Ask a Doctor coming. There's so much great stuff coming up. May's going to be exciting. Cinco de Mayo bingo. Be there, or you're just not at the party, guys. And if you wear a sombrero, you're going to win a prize. It's just not even, you're not even entered for a random. You get a prize if you come with a sombrero on Cinco de Mayo bingo. That you got to join us. 10 games, ton of fun. Also, that's on our events section on our website. And maybe it could be a taco tequila bingo night. Who knows? I don't know what's going to happen. You never know. All right. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Diane. Thank you, Tammy, so much for taking time out of your day to join us for this live event. Again, if you are watching this on replay, please hit like, please share, please leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you. And we will see you all again next Monday, 3 p.m. Thanks so much.
Bye.